is The Changing World of Energy Efficiency Financing and Building Your Green Team, 2015 and beyond. The intent of these webinars and sales trainings are to provide resources for you to help generate more and bigger tickets. And we highly encourage questions throughout the presentation that will open the discussion up towards the end of the webinar to address any issues you found while working with your clients. Build It Green is presenting this webinar on behalf of the Energy Network, which is a local government organization created by the CPUC that provides resources and assistance to homeowners, businesses, and public agencies planning energy efficiency upgrades serving the Southern California region. These services include community education and outreach, such as these webinars, rebate and incentive offerings, attractive financing terms, which we'll delve into further, and tools to help you identify contractors that have been trained in energy efficiency. Additional resources help homeowners take the next steps towards saving energy. Today's presenters are Bruce Mass and Marcia Tolentino of Build It Green. Bruce Mass is the Deputy Executive Director for Build It Green. He brings with him 23 years of experience in the green building and energy efficiency industry, and since 2003 he has led the efforts to articulate a green vision for Build It Green, translating that vision into practical program designs and obtaining political and financial support from government and utilities. Bruce is going to talk about the changing world of energy efficiency financing, so please join me in welcoming Bruce Mass.
Thank you, Leila. It's really great to be here this morning and talk to folks about financing and energy efficiency and home upgrades and all the great things that we're all involved in. My goal today is really twofold. First, I'd like everyone who's on this webinar to go away with kind of a really understanding why financing is important, why you should care, why it's important to your business. And then I'd also like you to go away with a basic understanding of the primary financing options that are out there and how they would fit into your business and where to go for more information. So I'm going to give you kind of a high-level survey of some of the more important financing programs. I'm not going to dig way down into the weeds there, and I'm not going to tell you everything that you would need to know to offer financing across the kitchen table. Frankly, I don't know everything you need to know, but I know enough to tell you at least, the high points and where to go for more information. So that's my goal for today. Before we get started, I'd like to just kind of check to see who we have on the line. My first question is, there's going to be a couple poll questions that you have a chance to respond yes or no to. My first question is, how many of you in your day-to-day work you have responsibility for, selling energy efficiency services directly to your customers? How many of you are in a sales role in your company? So raise your hand if you are. And my second question is related to the first. How many of you are able to offer financing solutions to your customers who need it? And I'd like to know just kind of what the state of the world is. I'm going to pause here for a second, give you a chance to respond to those, and Leila will tell us what we're seeing. All right, well, it sounds like about half of you on the phone, half of you on the webinar are directly involved in sales. It sounds like a lot of you who do sales are able to offer some financing solutions, so that's a good thing. Hopefully you'll learn some additional nuggets here that will improve that. And it sounds like maybe there's a few of you who do sales who don't routinely offer financing or not able to, and maybe this webinar will give you some information for where to go next. That's great. So let's address the importance question first. So the thing I want to stress here is, well, just that financing is important, and it's in our experience, we work with hundreds of contractors up and down the state. We also have collaborated over the years closely with our friends over at the Electric Gas Industry Association, which offers financing, and we talked to them about their experience in the field as well. And kind of the conclusion that comes out of all of this is that financing is not a nice-to-have part of your sales toolkit. It's a must-have, and it really can make the difference between a successful company that's growing versus one that's just breaking even, that's just getting by. We also have learned that it's not just a one-size-fits-all financing product, that you have different customers with different needs, and so you need a few different kinds of financing products to meet their different needs, and I'll talk about that a little bit. One of the things that I want to stress is just to reiterate how important this is. There's been research by the National Association of Home Builders Research Center, the Joint Center for Housing Studies out of Harvard University, that found that about half of the home improvement jobs greater than $5,000 get some kind of financing for them. So you don't want to be the contractor that can only sell jobs under $5,000, and you don't want to be the contractor that can only sell to the 50% of the people that are paying cash. You want to have more opportunities to sell more customers and bigger tickets, and that's what financing offers for you. I want to stress that it's not one size fits all. There's different customers in the marketplace. There are going to be cash buyers. They have the cash to pay for it, but they may have what we call cash separation anxiety. They may be hesitant to write that big check. Having a financing option, and at least even giving them the choice of financing if they want it, helps them overcome that anxiety. And they may even choose to pay cash at the end of the day, but the fact that they had a choice helps them overcome that anxiety. In some cases, we'll talk a little bit more about scenarios where it actually makes sense for them to finance the project, especially if it's short-term cash flow kind of thing. You probably have plenty of customers that are payment buyers. They don't have the cash up front. They need the work done. They qualify for the financing, but they are cash constrained, and their cash flow is constrained, so they do need low monthly payments in order to move forward. And so you need an option that can really get that monthly payment down. And then you're going to run into customers that have challenged credit, and there are, in some cases, not all cases, but in many cases, there are solutions for them as well. So don't just write them off. I want to give you an example of kind of what financing might do for your business, and these are just straw man numbers just to illustrate the point. This is not a rigorous research project, but this is based on feedback that the Electric Gas Industry Association gleaned from their members, talking to their member contractors over the years. And just in this example, we're showing kind of one company that's doing cash-only deals, another with financing option. And so the first thing it can do for you is give you a couple more leads. If you're able to highlight the availability of financing in your marketing, in your door hangers, in your campaigns, you might get a couple more leads coming in from people who thought they couldn't even move forward because they didn't have the cash, but because there's financing available, they're attracted to what you might have to offer. So if you get a couple more leads, that's a good start. It's also, as I've already described, a way to move people beyond that cash separation anxiety and close a few more deals than you might otherwise be able to close. And so if you can move from closing 3 jobs to 5 jobs out of those leads, that's an incremental improvement. It's a way for people to make work scope decisions based on what they need rather than what they've got in their pocket. And so you can sell some bigger ticket jobs. And so in this example, moving from a $9,000 average ticket to a $10,800 average ticket, you start to run the numbers and you look at how many jobs. 3 jobs at $9,000 gives you $27,000 in revenue. 5 jobs at $10,800 gives you $54,000 in revenue. And if you're spending $300 for every lead just to fill that pipeline, you end up in a cash-only scenario spending 11% of your total revenues generating leads. And with financing, you're only spending less than 7% of your total revenues generating leads. And so, your bottom line is looking better. So it's those kinds of incremental improvements in lead generation, in close rates, and in ticket size that add up when you put them all together. So that's the idea here, and that's why we encourage you to really think about how to make financing work for you. I want to stress the importance of having a couple different financing options available. You want to have some unsecured loans that you can offer that have a quick and easy qualification terms. You also want to be able to offer secured loans that may require more time and paperwork to qualify, but the trade-off is that you can offer lower interest rate, maybe longer financing terms. So in these examples, just comparing, option 1 is, basically 8% over 7 years. That's kind of in line with what you might be able to offer with some of the better unsecured loans. And, over in option 3, it's 7% over 15 years, and that's more like what you might see with a secured option. And, what you see is, in these examples is that if you can lower those monthly payments, you can finance larger projects that are going to produce more energy savings, more utility bill reductions, and still keep those monthly payments, within kind of within the tolerance limits. So those different options are important, and the trade-off is going to be kind of the ease and the paperwork. I want to stress the importance of being methodical, and this is this idea that financing is not this nice-to-have thing; it's this must-have thing. You want to offer it to your customers every time. They may not always take it, but you want to give them that choice. And you don't want to prejudge. You don't want to second-guess your customers. You don't want to decide for them whether they need financing. Again, our friends at EGIA tell us that their top salesmen, and our own conversations with contractors confirm this, that when you're using financing on a consistent basis, that half to 3/4 of your jobs will use financing in some form. That your close ratios can go up 20 to 25%. Your project size can go up 15 to 20%. You're selling more energy efficiency. You're selling more comfort. You're selling more health benefits. So you're doing what you set out to do. So it's all about consistency. It's all about consistency. So next I'm going to move into an overview of some of the different financing programs that are out there and that are emerging. Before I do that, I just want to pause and just check to see if there are any questions from the audience. You can submit those via the chat box or via the question box, and Layla will read them to me and I'll answer them if I can. Just pause here for a second. All right, sounds like everything so far has been pretty self-explanatory. That's good. Let's talk about a few different types of financing. I've already alluded. Come on, advance, please. I've already alluded to some of the different types of financing: unsecured, secured. I'm also going to talk about a third type that is kind of a hybrid. It's the PACE model. So examples of the unsecured financing products would be GeoSmart loan products that EGIA offers. Also, of course, credit cards and kind of the prototypical unsecured loan. It's not backed up by any kind of collateral. Unsecured products rely heavily on the borrower being able to show credit worthiness. So they look at FICO scores, they look at credit reports, they look at how much prior debt they have, they look at the income, those kinds of things, look at their bill payment histories to see that they're a credit-worthy individual, and that's really critical to get people qualify for an unsecured product. The secured products are backed up by a source of collateral. Quite often it's someone's home, so that's a mortgage, an energy-efficient mortgage. The 203K that I'm going to talk about is a secured product. Home equity line of credit is a secured product that banks typically offer. So those also look at the creditworthiness of the borrower, but then they also look at the home equity or the value of the collateral that's being pledged against that. And so that collateral reduces the lender's risk, and so they're able to lend at lower interest rates and longer terms. And then PACE is a kind of a unique beast. It's not a true loan product. It's not. It comes in the regulatory or the legal world. It doesn't fit as kind of a standard loan product. It's not governed by banking rules. It's governed by laws that affect government ability to finance infrastructure improvements. It uses home equity as a source of collateral, but it's not tied to the borrower's personal credit. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. So these different categories have kind of different applicability, different scenarios where you'd want to use them. So you'd want to use an unsecured loan in cases where you've got, well, for example, you've got a cash buyer whose payments are the same as who want like a same as cash option, make it easier to write that check, right? So this is the cash separation anxiety. So you can give them something that's same as cash. That's great. So, zero interest kind of thing. You might also have somebody that, they can afford to get a secured loan, but they don't want to get a second mortgage. They don't want to refinance their home. They don't want to go through that hassle of putting up their home as collateral, so they prefer an unsecured product there. Of course, if a homeowner has no equity in their home, then they can't get a secured loan, so they have to go with an unsecured product. An unsecured loan would be an option, like if as an alternative to say doing like some kind of lease option, if you're doing like solar, things like that. Another scenario that comes up is people that are going to get like a tax credit or a rebate later on to cover part of the cost, and they just need a bridge loan to for the short term to kind of get them to that tax credit payment, and then once they get that tax credit or that rebate, then they're going to pay the loan off all at once. And so they don't really care about the interest rate and things like that. They don't need a long-term financing because they're going to pay it off, so it's a bridge loan. So those are scenarios where an unsecured loan works really well. Quick and easy paperwork generally. Do it over the kitchen table in many cases, but higher interest rates, shorter terms. The secured loan, of course, you got larger projects. It works really well when the improvements, the home improvements, are occurring at the same time as a home purchase, or they're refinancing, and so you can bundle it in with the mortgage. Or it's a bigger project so that you need a longer term, you need lower interest rates in order to keep that monthly payment down. And because it's a big project, it's worth the extra headache with the paperwork. And of course, as a prerequisite, the homeowner has to have some home equity and some good credit. So those are kind of preconditions for when a secured loan might be the right choice. And then PACE. PACE is also an interesting choice. It works really well when you've got fairly defined scope of work that's really focused on energy efficiency and renewable energy and water improvements, because that's what PACE can be used for. It can't be used for other stuff. It's good for large projects. I myself personally, I took out a PACE loan more than $60,000 to do some energy efficient improvements to my home. I'm kind of an extreme example, but you can do larger projects like that. That's good for projects where you need a longer term and some lower interest rates to keep those monthly payments down. Actually, in this case, it's not a monthly payment. It's because it's going to show up on your property tax bill, so it'll be annually or semi-annually. And then you do need some home equity. PACE will not put you underwater on your home, so you need home equity, but you don't necessarily have to have great credit rating because they're not looking at the borrower's personal credit score. So that's a good thing. So just some of the products that are out there that I'm going to talk about today, and again, I'm not going to do an exhaustive list of every single thing that's out there, but I'm going to talk a little bit more about EGIA's GeoSmart products. I'm going to talk a bit about energy efficient mortgages, which is a secured product, the 203K loans, which are also secured. There's a new family of loan products that are going to be coming out, the Residential Energy Efficiency Loan Assistance Program. I'm going to talk about that. That's going to be a statewide program. I'll talk more about PACE. I'm not going to talk about the kind of standard financing that's on the market, credit cards and HELOCs, things like that. I'm going to assume that you know where to go for that kind of information. Any lender will tell you about that. They've Wells Fargo, B of A, they've got their own loan products that they can tell you all about that, and so you don't need me to explain those to you. So just quickly about GeoSmart. So this is it's really a family of loan products offered by EGIA. It's offered to their members, so you need to be a member of the Electric Gas Industries Association. And they actually have secured and unsecured solutions for you, and they can do installment loans, revolving lines of credit, same as cash, the whole bit. They can offer zero interest loans. Typically, the way that works is that it's the contractor that's buying down the interest rate. So what that means is that that cost of buying that interest rate down goes back into your base bid, so you recover the money that way. They really emphasize loan products that can be instant in-home approvals and paperless loan applications. They really emphasize that ease of use and qualifying customers across the kitchen table. So that's one good option for you. The energy efficient mortgages, these have been around a while. These are loans. They're kind of typically the typical energy efficient mortgage it's backed by FHA. It's a loan that covers the cost of purchasing or refinancing a home plus the eligible energy improvements. So it will add extra money into the loan to cover the cost of the energy improvements. And you can finance all kinds of energy efficiency improvements. The energy efficiency portion of that loan is tied to the expected energy savings. And so to show that, you've got to get a HERS rater to come and do an analysis of the home and estimate what the energy savings will be from the proposed improvements. And so the loan has got to be either less than the value of the energy savings, so you translate kilowatt hours and therms into dollars, and whatever that number is, the financing has to be less than that so that it's bill neutral to the customer, or it's capped at 5% of the home equity, and that's or the mortgage. I'm sorry, 5% of the mortgage, whichever is less. And actually, I'm not going to get into the details. The formula is a little bit more complicated than 5%, but for most cases, it's going to be 5% of the mortgage. So there's some limits on how much you can borrow for the energy efficiency improvements, generally tied to the scope of the energy savings. So this is really good for a borrower who needs to stretch their debt to income so they can qualify for a little bit bigger loan to make those energy efficiency improvements or to buy an energy efficient homes. So you can also use it to qualify to buy a home that's already been already energy efficient, and again, you can stretch that debt to income ratio. If you don't need to stretch that ratio, then you don't need to do an energy efficient mortgage. Another financing product that's backed by FHA is a 203K. So this is the primary program for rehabilitation and repair for single family homes. All right, so again, it lets you have one loan that covers both the cost of buying the property as well as the cost of rehabbing the property. Right now, so the difference between this and the energy efficient mortgage is that the extra money can cover, a full rehab scope. It's not tied to energy efficiency. So whatever the rehab needs to be done, that's what you can finance. Whereas the energy efficient mortgage is tied to the value of the energy savings. This is tied to the cost of the rehabs, and so you typically have to get a consultant to come and do a cost study and price out kind of what the expected cost is for the rehab scope of work, and then that sets the limit for what you can borrow for the rehab portion. So it's not a trivial application process, but like I say, it has that value of both buying the property or refinancing the property as well as making these rehab improvements. There's also a streamlined version of this that is narrower in scope. You can't finance structural improvements, things like that. It's also capped at $35,000, but the paperwork's simpler for that. So you get kind of two flavors of 203K that you can choose. And then there's one other financing program. I'm not going to show a separate slide, but there's also the Title I property improvement loan, and this also does the rehab when you're not buying or refinancing. So it's for a rehab only type of situation. So so those are all out there depending on your scope of work and your customers' needs. So moving on, I want to talk a little bit about some of the energy efficiency loans that are out there, that are earmarked specifically for energy efficiency. One of the new loan programs that's coming out is still under development, but should be rolling out later this fall. The Residential Energy Efficiency Loan Assistance Program. So it's a pilot program for the 2-year period. It's funded by ratepayers and through the Public Utility Commission, and those ratepayer funds are used to reduce the lender's risk for making energy efficient loans. And so the goal here is to reduce the cost of energy efficient financing by lowering that risk, and also then to make those loans available to a broader segment of borrowers, so be able to get down further, people who have maybe less, lower credit scores, things like that. So increase the access to that financing to more borrowers. This program is going to be run by the California Alternative Energy and Advanced Transportation Finance Authority, which we call CAPFA for short. It's quite a mouthful. This is it's an office within the state treasury. So they've been designing this program, setting the ground rules for the lenders, and they're currently in the process of enrolling lenders. It looks like one of the first lenders to come on board will be serving the Los Angeles area, so that's a good thing. We're expecting to see, smaller lenders, regional lenders, community banks, things like that, as opposed to kind of the big national lenders at this point, since it's still a pilot. And then there's going to be, it's going to be a contractor-delivered program, we expect, so there's going to be a lot of emphasis on enrolling contractors and getting you guys trained on the program requirements and processes that you can offer this to your customers. The key thing to emphasize is there's, CAPFA is setting some basic ground rules for these loans, and then the lenders will have discretion to add their own requirements on top of that. So the CAPFA rules, they set a cap on how much you can borrow, so $50,000 in general, and if the borrower doesn't have a credit score through FICO, then it's capped at $35K. They're setting, boundaries around FICO scores and income verification and debt, things like that. The maximum interest rates that the lenders will be able to charge is tied to the Treasury rate. So it's for 10-year Treasury bonds. So they can loan up at the 10-year Treasury bond rate plus 7.5%. So to put that in context, right now these days, the 10-year Treasury bond rate is in the 2.3 to 2.4% range. Sometimes it goes up 2.6, 2.8. So it's been below 3 here for a while. So a lender could lend that plus 7.5%. So that would be up around the 10% number. They set some minimum requirements for program eligibility. Is targeted towards single-family units and small condos, duplexes, things like that. You do not have to be owner-occupied, and you don't have to participate in the utility program in order to take advantage of the financing. There are going to be some health and safety requirements around air sealing and infiltration, so you might have to do a combustion appliance zone test in certain cases. The energy efficiency measures that are eligible for this financing are listed on this website that you see on the screen, and this will be in the slides that we mail around to you. And these are basically the measures that are eligible for rebates through an investor-owned utility program. So it's not the universe of everything that will save energy. It's the set of measures that qualify for a rebate. It's a smaller set. The program's set up so that 70% of the loan has to be, or at least 70% of the loan that's guaranteed by the PUC has to be for these eligible energy efficiency measures. And then the other 30% can be for other home improvements. Now, the lender may choose to, change that ratio, but they won't be able to get the PUC's loan guarantee on the full thing if they do that. I'm kind of getting into the weeds here. But for that 70% slice there around the eligible energy efficiency measures, this funds things like, efficient HVAC systems, appliances, windows, insulation. So you go back and you see that approved list. It will also cover the related installation costs. So if you need to, patch things, paint things, pull permits, get inspections, things like that, those kinds of costs that are associated with installation can be rolled in as part of the 70% portion for the eligible energy efficiency measures. But CAFA recognized that people often do energy efficiency improvements in as part of a larger scope of work, a bigger remodel. And so to make it easier for borrowers to do, one loan to do the whole project, they allow up to 30% of that loan to cover other home improvements. So you can do your cabinets, fixtures, other things that are not energy efficiency related, up to 30%. And again, make it easier for the borrower to just take out one loan, do the whole thing, and not have to, do partial loans for partial scope of work. So that's the residential energy efficiency loan program that's coming out this fall. Stay tuned for that. Next, I want to talk a little bit about the PACE financing that I've alluded to before. So as I mentioned before, this is not a loan in the standard legal definition that, according to regulations that the banks have to follow. It's actually under a legal mechanism that local governments have been using for a long time, for decades, to finance capital improvement projects on private property that have a public purpose. So, for example, you might see a line item on your property tax bill for a landscape and lighting assessment district, and it might fund things like putting sidewalks in and things like that that have this public purpose. In this case, we're using this financing to finance energy efficiency improvements in a home and solar and water, because these have public benefits. So a city will set up an assessment district, and homeowners get to opt in. So the only people who are getting assessed with this are the people that participate and actually get financing for their projects, and so they don't have to. If you're not, anyway. Key things about this. So it's tied to your property tax bill, so it shows up on annually or semi-annual bill. Energy, water, solar, fixed interest rates, and these are for long terms, and so it depends on kind of the useful life of the improvements, but it can be as little as 5 years up to 20 years. Programs, here we're talking residential. There's a commercial version that we're not going to get into. The improvements have to be fixed on the property. That makes sense. In Los Angeles County, the two main programs, California First and HERO, are available pretty much everywhere in LA County except for 3 communities, Maywood, Vernon, and Westlake Village. And that could change. These cities could opt in as well. So you want to check back with the PACE providers on a regular basis just to see if there are changes in customer eligibility. But for both programs, what you see on the screen is pretty much it. You've got to have home equity at least. You can't borrow more than 10% of the available home equity, and the loan can't be more than 15% of your total property value. And you have to be a participating contractor, so you have to be kind of enrolled through the PACE provider in order to be able to offer PACE financing to your customers. So one of the unique things about PACE is because it's a lien, it's attached to the property, it has a couple of implications for the borrower. One is the credit check doesn't really matter. The PACE providers, they will look at a credit report, but that's not a screening criteria. They don't, so a bad credit score does not disqualify you, so that's a really good thing. The other thing is that this lien does not count against your debt-to-income ratio, right? So if you want to use PACE for some work and then you also need to go and, take out a home equity line of credit or something else, this doesn't penalize you on that debt-to-income ratio on the other loans. So that's a good thing. And then the third thing that's unique about it is that because it's tied to the property, it can transfer at time of sale. There's a caveat here. It usually transfers at sale, but there have been some instances where the borrower's lender does not want to see that lien on the property, and so the borrower's lender requires that lien to be paid off, precondition for making the loan to the borrower. So there have been some cases where the seller has had to pay off that lien in order to make the sale. So if you're a realtor, it's really important that you provide really clear disclosures if you're selling a home that's got a PACE lien on it. If you're the listing agent, you should disclose to interested buyers that there is this additional tax assessment and explain how the energy and the water savings help offset the cost of the assessment. So, explain to people that, on balance, you're still getting a good deal. That's if you're a realtor. I think that's all I'll say about that. A couple places you can go for more information. Got some websites for the financing resources that I've talked about today. GeoSmart, the energy efficient mortgages, the 203Ks. There's that website from the Treasurer's Office if you want to learn, keep up to date on the developments around the Real Assistance Program. And then I've got the website for the 2 PACE providers that operate in Los Angeles County. And hopefully those websites will be a great starting point for you as you want to learn more. And I think with that, I'm open for questions.
Yeah. Thank you, Bruce, for all that really great information. We've already received a few comments that this is really good information. And just as a reminder, we're going to send out the webinar recording and PowerPoint to all attendees. So if you happen to join late or missed a portion of it or just want to review, we're definitely available for that. I'm going to leave the question and answer section open a little bit for us. So if you do have any questions about any financing options that Bruce did mention, please send those in because we have our expert here. You might as well take advantage of it. And as we're moving forward, the next section of this webinar is going to be Building Your Green Team 2015 and beyond. Our presenter for this section is Marcia Tolentino, who works closely with workforce development representatives, nonprofits, youth and veteran organizations to provide clients with skills-based training, instruction, and world-class green industry training programs. She also leads the effort to educate homeowners, business owners, and local government offices about creating energy efficiency homes, businesses, and office buildings. With that, please join me in welcoming Marcia Tolentino.
Hello, everybody. This is again Marcia Tolentino. Thank you so much, Leila and Bruce, for inviting me for this webinar. Leila, I think I lost my screen here. Hold on a second, show my screen. Leila, can you hear me?
I can hear you. It does look like you do need to accept the show screen.
And, oh, show.
And then onto your PowerPoint.
Did I accept it yet?
You did. So if you go to the PowerPoint.
Where's the PowerPoint at? Sorry.
Down below on the icon, the PowerPoint one, in between your Word document and the GoToWebinar.
That's my regular PowerPoint. Can you see it?
Marcia, I'll make myself the presenter and then I can do your slides for you.
Okay, that's perfect.
Okay, great. Thank you everyone on the audience for your patience. All right, go ahead, Marcia.
Okay, I'm still not able to see my screen.
That's all right. I'm sure our audience can see the first slide that you have regarding Realtor Engagement and the number of professionals you've trained.
Oh my God. Okay. Well, I just wanted to talk to everybody about the importance of engaging with the real estate professionals today. Building Green in 2014 and 2015 have trained over 1,000 real estate professionals and actually certified over 600 realtors with a National Association of Realtors green designation. Next slide, please. For those contractors in the call, I want you to go back to your very first building science training that you attended. Remember how it was so intimidating because there was a lot of information that was being shared with you, and you're a contractor. So now imagine a realtor going through the same, very similar training. It's not as deep as your training, but it's pretty deep for them. Bear in mind that their area of expertise is selling houses and not building them or advising buyers or sellers on how to remedy an issue. So with that said, realtors need experts like you to build their team, to help them build their green team. They need to feel confident that when they secure a client, that they can simply call a green contractor and that you as a green expert will and can effectively coach their client through the process. Realtors need you to be the expert to help explain the whys to their client. This is very similar to when they refer their clients to their mortgage lender and their home inspector, etc. Those people are their partners, and they're the experts. The realtors are not required to know all the financing options. So for the same reason, they should not be required to know all the building science to relay that to their client. They need you as a green contractor to help them with that. So you're probably wondering where you can you meet these green realtors? Well, To keep our green realtors engaged, we hold 4 monthly peer-to-peer meetings in Southern California. This is an opportunity for you to meet them. We have meetings in Orange County, in San Gabriel Valley, and 2 in Coachella Valley. And I'm hoping that there's actually contractors on the call that will and does work in the Coachella Valley area, because our realtors in the Coachella Valley area are very, very, very engaged. I have approximately 50 realtors that are very active in the green building, in the green real estate, and they are eager to meet realtors such as yourself. Okay, so green realtors are a good source for business, and this is why. These realtors understand the importance of building a green team. Realtors who are eager to help their clients, therefore need knowledgeable contractors who can help them effectively relay the importance of an energy-efficient home to home buyers and home sellers. I want to quickly share a success story with you guys. One of our realtors disclosed a sale with a client, and the client utilized the FHA energy efficient mortgage. And just to add to Bruce's presentation, an energy efficient mortgage qualifies is any home buyer or home seller that is refinancing is automatically qualified for an additional 5% of their loan. Okay, without adding to their DTI. They're pre-approved already for this, for a 5%, up to 5% of their loan. So in this case, it was a $410,000 purchase. And so therefore the purchaser was approved to up to $26,000 in energy efficient repairs, which they actually utilized. They did attic insulation, all 4 walls were insulated, a brand new HVAC system, as well as a brand new pool pump. And they were able to utilize or maximize the Energy Upgrade California rebate. And so with their FHA financing, it was $26,000 minus the EUC rebate. So with their financing, they were able to bundle with their mortgage payment, $17,500 with their mortgage loan. And this is at 3.76%, 30-year fix. Imagine that. See, imagine how easy this sales is, or this sale was. So and then their monthly mortgage payment was actually increased $75 per month because of the $17,000 financing. So with these types of financing options available to home buyers and home sellers, this should be a slam dunk. So thank you very much. And again, if there's any questions, Leila will be letting us know if there's any questions out there. Thank you.
Yes, of course. Thank you, Marcia. A few things that she mentioned I just want to go over is the importance to keep realtors engaged that she mentioned, the 4 peer-to-peers in Southern California. If you are in that area, it's definitely important to attend these, get some more information about it. And Marcia is a great instructor, and she always is providing up-to-date information and sometimes looking at it from a different vantage point, which is always important. She mentioned that it's held once a month in attendance with increasing attendance every month. These are some great pictures that she has there of some recent peer-to-peers that have gone on. If anyone has any questions for Marcia, I would suggest you type into the questions pane or the chat function, as we do have her as our realtor expert on the line right now. We highly encourage that you guys utilize this time with her. But it does look like, Marcia, that we don't have any questions at the moment. So I'm going to move on to let you guys know about some upcoming webinars and trainings that are available, but I'm going to ask Marcia to stay on the line in case we get any questions that do come in. Here's just a slide to show you guys how to submit your questions. Once again, if you do have any, you can also use the chat function, as I've mentioned. upcoming webinars that we have in this series for the Energy Network, we have one more webinar that's focusing on if your website is converting traffic to leads, simple, objective ways to evaluate the effectiveness of your website. This webinar is going to occur on August 13th. It's a 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. webinar with Peter Trost, who, if you attended our last webinar on the challenge and opportunities of home marketing, you will definitely find this super beneficial. Additionally, after this webinar, there'll be a survey in which we ask for your feedback, so we please take a moment to fill out the short survey directly after the webinar. I just want to thank Bruce Mass and Marcia Tolentino for joining us today as presenters and offering great information to our audience. We do have a few trainings coming up. They are going to be in the Hawthorne area, and we will provide information in the follow-up email for you to be able to register for that as well. So if you would like some in-person sales training opportunities, please join us for that. Thank you all. Marcia, thank you, Bruce, for being our presenters, again, giving us great information. Thank you, everyone in the audience, for joining us today. And if you should have any questions following this, please don't hesitate to contact us. We're here as a resource for you guys. We will see you next time. I am going to leave the webinar open for if there's any questions lingering in your mind, so please feel free to submit those, but I'll dismiss anyone who's ready to go. Thank you, Marcia. Thank you, Bruce.